Record to the collab. Right, okay, hello, welcome to episode 357 of the Self-Help Podcast with me, Ed Lamb, and my good pal Sean Offord. You right, Sean?
I am. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Yeah, we're doing this one again on video, aren't we? We're using good old Zoom.
Yeah.
Although you
Yeah,
froze.
loads of controvery about Zoom. Is it good? Is it bad? Interesting.
Yes, I've had a few. We're recording this as a standard MP3 as well, so the podcast will continue to go out as it always has. But yeah, I've had a few emails from Zoom this week saying, "What is going on outside my window there?" Well, obviously they're on. I think they've been listening and seeing some of the concerns people have been highlighting about the security or lack of.
Yeah. The issue is it hackable is the thing, isn't it? Because people don't want to be hacked. So as long as they can make it as encrypted as possible.
Yeah.
Then.
Because I must say, we've been faffing around with Skype for a while and I think we tried Google Hangouts a while back and gave up. But fair play, Zoom's a pretty solid bit of technology.
Yeah. According to Phil, who's our local cybersecurity man, NHS, he reckons that Skype is actually quite good now. That Microsoft have really kind of beefed it up, and it is good. And they do a thing like a chat thing where you can have more than one person on now.
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff, which is good.
Skype's been around forever, hasn't it? It's like,
yeah,
if it's taking this and a little company, well, they're worth billions now, I'm sure, Zoom, to come along, finally sort it out. Then what have they been doing this whole time? But we're not going to talk about technology. We could set up a whole other podcast for that, or other podcasts exist. We're talking about self-help and self-development in this crazy time of coronavirus, which is just really sinking its teeth in the UK. And I think people are getting used to lockdown life. How are you getting on, Sean?
I'm good. I am. It's been quite busy. It's starting to ease off a bit. I went through a kind of a spike where I was doing like 7 a.m. to kind of 8 p.m, back to back online, supporting people doing stuff. And that started to ease off this week a bit. It was a bit busy Monday. Today's fairly clear. I've been managing to catch up on things like reports and invoices and all the other bits of stuff that you have to do that I'm kind of 2 months behind on, all that kind of stuff. Because it has been crazy. And that's okay. And it comes back to the famous phrase, if we all look after each other, we're all going to be okay. And that's the issue in this. We have to look after each other. As long as we do that, we will be all right.
And we're talking about some of the good news stories that have been creeping out of the woodwork from all the torrent of awfulness and death and despair that is probably quite rightly being discussed in part on the news. But there's this National Bank of Volunteers. There's kind of I saw it. It's always interesting reading news stories from other parts of the world that focus back on us. So there was a New York Times article about how the UK had as one of our and I'm sure we're by no means perfect in our reaction and our response to this virus, but they said that the call had gone out for volunteers to help with the crisis, and in return an army was formed because like well over 250,000 people kind of signed up, and I think that
it was 750,000. It got 750,000.
Wow,
amazing. The other thing that isn't being publicised so much is there are a massive amount of volunteers that are coming forward to go out and pick food. That normally we'd rely on Eastern European workers coming over here to do the farm work. There's now a massive volunteers are starting to develop. It was up over 8,000 people last time I looked that signed up to go in the fields and start picking the lettuces and all that kind of stuff, so keep us going.
So, by all that stuff. I mean, there's a video that I'll link to in the show notes, that in the description about. I've mentioned it loads of times on the show. It's actually talking about architecture and how it's ruined cities, and this is like a 20-year-old almost TED talk It's quite prophetic and profound. And the end, he summarizes about how this huge crunch time is coming for humanity environmentally, and how that we're going to have to prepare and get ready to be a good citizen, be prepared to be useful in this time of crisis. And I'm watching the world now, and reading about how volunteers are stepping up, and how all of a sudden we're kind of realizing that our future jobs might not be some kind of marketing person at Gap or Top Shop. It might be that we're picking food and we're kind of helping to feed the nation.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that it's the issue of what are we focusing on now. Every time you turn on the news, it's kind of negative. I like the BBC News at the moment, because they have an hour where they do a thing about the heroes at the moment.
Oh, wow.
And some of those, it's really good. Some of those are about people that are doing amazing things. Sometimes they're frontline workers, people that are helping the poor or feeding people or whatever. But this morning, when I watched it, this morning, there were two guys on who had survived the virus, had been in intensive care, had been on respirators. They thought they would be dead, and they've come out again. And one guy's in his 90s.
Yeah.
And it blows away that kind of idea about, if you're old, would you go and die, kind of stuff. And we need to have more stories like that. We need to have more reality.
Yeah, no,
what's going on.
I saw a really nice piece on BBC News, about George Alagaya. He's one of the top news anchors here in the UK.
Yeah.
But he's been off work for a while because he's got stage 4 cancer. Which where it's hit. But anyway, he got coronavirus.
Yeah.
He kind of got, but he's come through it. He had a really kind of mild dose. But obviously, if you got cancer, your immune system's threat, isn't it? And a bit dodgy. So, and he was talking about how I got through it. It's fine. You can do it too. And it's quite a really positive news story.
Yeah. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, why do we keep focusing on the negative? I'm still there. Why do we keep focusing on the negative? That idea of thoughts become things. We just create a negative mindset for ourselves. And the guy who was 90, who came through it, his philosophy, I suggest anybody goes back and checks it out this morning from the news broadcast, but his philosophy was, it's all in your head. It's like, he was saying that your mind rules your body, that your body, the way he said it was, your body is like a walking pharmacy. And if you use it positively, it will counteract illness, it will keep you well. And for a guy in his 90s, good on him. It's amazing. And he was ill, respirator, but never thought he was going to die. I'm fine. Yeah.
So what are you doing to stay positive and stay healthy? What are your...
Well, I do my daily meditations. I go for a walk every day as much as I can. A couple of days I haven't. And that walk would usually about 5K, something like that, which is like 10,000 steps. So I try and do that. Overall, I have a positive expectation of things. And unlike lots of people around me, I'm not really scared of death. The idea of dying, people are always going, bloody hell. It doesn't really bother me that much. I see life as ongoing. Everything I've ever done suggests to me that life is reincarnated. I could be mad, but I just see this as a process. So for me, the idea of dying is like going to the airport and getting on a plane, and sometimes it's dead easy to get on a plane, sometimes it's a bit difficult, but you land at the other end somewhere. So,
and how are you trying to share that message with your clients, or with people you're talking to every day that haven't reached that stage yet? How do we sell that idea? Not necessarily.
I think when we did those recordings, the morning focus and the evening review, the evening review is about going through the day and sorting out the good stuff from the bad stuff, keeping the good stuff and dumping the bad stuff. Now, that idea that at the end of a day, or maybe in the middle of a day, you stop and review what's just happened to you during that day or that morning, and you focus on the positive things that have happened. And if you focus on the negative, what you feed grows, what you starve dies. It just gets bigger. If you focus on the positive, what you feed grows, what you starve dies. That gets bigger, right? But then someone will say to me, "But that's okay. But nothing positive has happened to me today at all. I've got nothing positive to focus on." And that's the point where you have choice. It's like either you can do things that make you feel bad all day, or you can do things that make you feel positive. Now, and in saying that, I'm not being a clever dick. I know that life is tough, and I know for some people it's very tough. Yeah,
Mhm.
but it's the thing about how positive can you be. So I'm taken back to people I've worked with, like the guy that had the cancers with compressions on his spine, and he had lost, as the cancers were growing, they were inoperable, and he'd lost the use of his legs and the lower part of his body. He'd lost his left arm, that wouldn't move anymore, but his right arm would move. And this guy's in bed, they've sat him up in bed, and he's drinking a cup of tea, and he's going, "Wow, look at that, isn't that, wow, I can still drink a cup of tea, isn't that amazing?" Yeah. And he wasn't focusing on the fact that 2/3 or 3/4 of his body had stopped working. He was focused on the bit that was working. Yeah. And that's not kind of anything clever. It's no kind of clever dickery. It's about what do we focus on. You know, the fact that my heart's beating is really positive. The fact I can breathe is really positive. The fact that I've got a body that works is really positive. Yeah. The fact I live in a house, I've got food, I've got heating, you know, I've got people around me. That's positive. If you haven't got people around you, get online, join a group, do something. Yeah, connect in, pick up the phone, talk to somebody. And even Auntie V, who's 92 and is a bit kind of technophobic, is still connecting with other people. She's still doing it. She's amazingly positive, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel, you know, the digital stuff that was, you know, we kind of, we have a bit of a love-hate relationship with a lot of the time, but in many ways, I'm connecting more now with friends and family than before. All this, you know, so we've just had a little WhatsApp group with our pals, all the couples that we hang out with. I went to school with a lot of the lads, and we're gonna have a. Well, I did one of last weekend, but the weekend before we had a Zoom group call just on a Saturday night. You know, just nothing in particular on the agenda, just catch up and see how everyone's doing. And we're doing it again this coming weekend. You know, quite often in the before, as I call it, before all this kicked off. You know, we would go weeks and weeks and weeks without seeing or speaking to each other, just naturally. But now, because of what's happening, and maybe we're all focusing on looking after each other and making sure we're all okay. We're speaking to each other all the time and having these really positive interactions. Yeah, amazing.
It's so easy to take people for granted rather than actually be connected with what's going on. You know, so important. So important. We're going to do a thing because each kind of festival, everyone gathers here, whether it's kind of Easter, Christmas, Mother's Day, whatever. So we've got Easter Sunday coming up.
Yeah.
And we can't meet. So what we've decided to do is we will cook the meal like we would normally cook the meal. Yeah. It will be delivered or picked up to people's doorsteps. And then what we'll do is we'll have the virtual meal. Everybody will have their meal at the same time, but we'll all be on our device so that we can do like a group meal with everybody there. Yeah.
Very nice. So what time can we expect our delivery then?
No, you're gonna have to pick up.
All right. I'll come by with my bike and my trailer.
yeah, fill it up, load it. Yeah. And those kind of things. It's weird doing those kind of group things like you were doing with like Zoom chat and stuff. But it is amazing what you can do. And Ree's been running her groups and mindfulness groups and stuff like that online, and it's just really clever. It's really clever. I mean, I've used Zoom in the Middle East to run things. WebEx is one which everyone's raving about in terms of security.
Yeah, look into that one. I wanted to, but I didn't think you could record the video
I
chat
don't
like
know.
this?
I don't know. I've run courses on WebEx. So I run courses from here, from this chair, to like 100 people in Doha. And the thing is that because I can see them and they can see me, it's interactive. So you have the Q&A bit at the end, and everyone's asking questions and stuff, and we can actually hear each other. It's quite, I mean, that kind of technology is really weird, but it's amazing.
Well, I'm just going to, for those that are watching on the YouTube link, and I'll put it on the, I'll start putting these on the website for each episode. I'm going to share my screen, hopefully, if it works. Can you see that, Sean, now?
I can see that, yeah.
So it is clever. So we've got L.com 50 positive news stories that you may have missed during the coronavirus outbreak.
So hang on. Just before you go into that, just one question, because it's relevant to me, it's relevant to other people that are watching this. The way you're using Zoom at the moment, so that you've got one screen up so I can see you and I can see your information screen.
Yeah.
Is that something that you can do from an iPad, or does it have to be from a MacBook or a PC?
I don't know, actually. I've got to say, I haven't tried on the, I've got the Zoom app on the phone, but to be honest, I don't even know if our viewers, when this video exports and it gets sent to me, I don't know if people are going to be able to see this screen on YouTube, so we'll find out. If, yeah, but I'll run people through it anyway.
But it's interesting because I can see you in the small screen in the corner, and I can see the article that we're looking at behind you.
So I'll be interested to see what Zoom sends me when the video comes back. Hopefully we'll be able to share this, because you can also share like a whiteboard where you can draw pictures and that kind of thing. So pretty cool.
What I want to be able to do for the stuff I'm setting up for here is being able to do that in the background as you are now, to have that as like a PowerPoint.
Yeah.
So I can do in the PowerPoint in the background and people can still see my lovely face.
Yeah. I wonder. We'll see when the video comes back. So, but I'll run through the top story, which I saw this one. The New Zealand Prime Minister has delivered a message to the children of New Zealand that, you know, the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny have been designated as key workers. So we'll be able to, you know, as much as they can, carry on working through the crisis, which is pretty cool.
Robert was telling me, I think it's New Zealand where they've only had one death.
Really?
I think it was New Zealand. He was saying that it's because they've hunkered down and they've gone in, they went straight into lockdown, and they've had none of the kind of connection that the rest of us have had.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a tourist hotspot, so I mean, a lot of people fly in and out of there, so they can bring who knows what. But an island with relatively small and lowish population like that, probably quite easily shut themselves off. Lady Gaga has organised an all-star concert. I'm not sure how that's playing out, but to raise.
But that's good, isn't it? That people are actually putting up concerts online. I assume these are free. I don't know if people have to pay for them. But that's lovely, you know.
But yeah, BBC One is showing the highlights. Live concert. They're going to raise. They have raised 35 million for the WHO.
Yeah, wow. That's brilliant. That's good.
We don't have to go through all these. Yeah, this is an interesting one. You saw this. Is this being done on Whirl yet? Doctors wearing photos of them?
It's something that Ree's trying to get the doctors in the local, or all the frontline workers to do. And it's because if someone goes into ITU, they might have gone in there with even not realising they'd gone in because they're unconscious. Yeah. They're on a respirator. And as they come back into consciousness, they're surrounded by these really scary figures in their PPE. So what started happening in other countries, particularly in Italy, was they started putting photographs of themselves on the PPE so the person could see who was actually dealing with them, what's the face behind the mask, you know. And that's really a really good idea. So she's trying to get them to do that at the moment. I hope they do, because I think it will change people's experience. Yeah, it's good.
You could even, if you weren't as handsome as you or I, you could even put a photo of like George Clooney on, couldn't you?
Yeah, I definitely touch mine up.
Run for Heroes. I think this is about people raising money while they're doing their little daily bit of exercise, raising a bit of money.
Yeah, so the idea of this to me is like the ice bucket challenge, where you run 5K and then you nominate 5 friends to do the same thing. It's like a challenge. Okay. And if everybody bungs a fiver in, you know, how far can we take it? You know, and that's like the ice bucket thing. It should be good.
This guy's got a good news channel. Victoria Derbyshire got a phone number on her hand while she's presenting the news.
So what's that number?
The number is for the National Domestic Abuse Hotline. It's kind of a coded message.
Oh, right.
Because, I mean, there's very serious issues out there about people that are locked up in their houses. You know,
yeah.
It's like the last place they want to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And being pressured to be with other people over a long period of time brings out any cracks that are there are going to start to open, aren't they?
Yeah.
So that's tough, and that's really where you do need to do the positive. I've been doing quite a bit of couples work online over the last couple of weeks, and looking at the issues about how can you get people to separate out emotionally if they're stuck together. And sometimes you need the space. So we've been doing things like getting people to go and sit in their cars. Go and sit in your car, go and sit in your car, talk to me, go and sit in your car, meditate. Yeah, mm-hmm. So it's like you can still be in and around, but you can just get that space, just get out of it for a bit.
Yeah.
You know, but that can be really tough.
That's cool. We've got the rainbow drawings. We've been counting those on our walks.
You missed the Queen. The Queen.
Well, I missed it. I didn't even listen to it. I haven't heard it yet.
It's an interesting thing because I was listening to it, and because in the 60s the Queen was still a figure of great kind of authority. That when the Queen's speech was on, everybody would kind of go silent and listen to the Queen's speech. And I wonder how relevant she is seen by younger people these days.
Mm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe what's the Netflix series called?
Yeah.
That's kind of been my most recent thing that's really got me back into thinking more about the royal family. I can't even remember what the program's called.
Is it the Queen?
I believe it was very. Is that what it's called on Netflix? The Queen.
Yeah, the Queen. Yeah, is it the Queen?
Oh, right.
Or the Royal? I don't know.
Sense.
I don't know what it is, but it's yeah. It could be the Royals. I don't know. I know what you mean.
Yeah, I believe it's quite.
The Crown.
Kind of British.
Crown.
That's it. The Crown. Yeah, good show.
Yeah.
Wagamamas are doing online cookery classes, and we've been looking at loads of online cookery stuff as well.
Have you got the kids cooking?
We have, yeah. In fact, and we redid some pizza dough from recreated from when we did it a few months back in Liverpool.
All right. Yeah.
So we're going to do another batch today, actually, so we can have that tomorrow. We're going to do Calzone.
I wondered if the weather's good enough at the weekend to power up the pizza oven in the garden and get some pizzas going in that.
Yeah, that would be cool. How easy is it to make? I need to look this up. Your own wood-fired pizza oven. I wonder what I would need and what kind of materials you need to withstand that kind of thing.
You can do it fairly easily. I mean, obviously you need some cement and to shape things. But when I was looking at it, you can do it. And there are some forms of things that are more like barbecues that are also pizza ovens.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, which is good.
That could be a good job for me.
But it's great with the kids to get all the kids round and get them making pizzas, and then they cook them themselves in the oven. And it's kind of a real fire oven, so that it becomes quite an exciting thing for them, which is good. Yeah.
My weird car hatred. I really like Formula One. I was amazed to see that the F1 teams, I think it was Mercedes, been helping to make some breathing aids for the NHS.
Yeah. Did you see the thing? I was stunned over these guys and they were doing deep sea diving kind of stuff, and they managed to make a valve that they were printing. They were printing the valve. I thought, what an incredible idea, because those kinds of 3D printers I always thought were a bit kind of quirky and geeky and all that kind of stuff. But what an amazing thing to be able to do, to be able to print a valve that you can then add to an existing piece of stock and make it into a lifesaver. Incredible.
Yeah, really cool. And it's like, it's kind of good to see, I love Formula One. In many ways, it's a little bit superfluous at the moment. So finding out, because there's such amazing brains behind all the engineering in those machines. Putting those brains to kind of better use in this time is, amazing.
Yeah. No, it's brilliant. It's good.
Yeah, I'm not going to go through all these because I'm one thing about Zoom is it doesn't tell you how long you've been talking for. So I'm not sure about that. No, I won't go through all these.
Well, number 16 that you're at there, which is quite interesting, is the idea that China reckons it's gone over the peak, is coming back, so it's starting to reopen. I know that the factories kicked off over a week ago. They started reproducing because some of the people I work with were saying that they were now getting stuff from China again.
Cool. Yeah, I know. Well, I've seen something about the technology that they're using as well to kind of allow people to get back out. So they have some kind of app that says that they've either clear at the moment or that they've had the virus, or I'm not sure. But
there's something on that which is a GPS thing, isn't it, where they can tell where you've been, and because everybody's phone is on the database, if you've been near someone who's got it, they can identify that you have. Now, for us, that would be a complete infringement of human rights. And it's hard, that kind of balance, isn't it? Can you trust your governmental system to have that much of your information about you? We've just lost the background and you've come back in again.
Yeah, we're going to have some big questions. Yeah, so but I'll put the link in the show notes. But the last one that I saw at number 18 was the clap for carers thing, which I'm a bit of a, I'm not skeptical about that stuff, but I'm a bit, I am a bit of a cynical person. But Thursday night last week, I was putting the kids to bed. It must have been bang on 8 o'clock. And I heard some cheering and claps outside the window. I was like, what's that? And then I remembered, it's 8 o'clock. So we opened our windows and we were all clapping, and it was quite emotional, actually.
Yeah. I think it's a good way of people saying that we are all together. The big issue in something like this is what's going to happen afterwards, which is what we were talking about last time, was it? But it's like we have choices here. We can recreate community, and whether that is, from your point of view, that we use cars less and use ourselves more, either walking, cycling, or
Yeah, it's not so much about the cars itself. It's about reconnecting with our neighbours and our local communities, and not relying on that massive superstore, that's 5 miles away to get your food. It's about reconnecting and seeing the benefits and all that. So
the other thing that I've seen that I really like is people doing like community workouts. So you'll see, I've seen a couple of shots, clips where someone who's a dance instructor has gone out in the street and got everyone in the houses out dancing in the street, which I think is amazing. That's really, really cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. And we just need to be careful that we learn some lessons from all this and take some stuff forward into the new world.
Yeah,
we'll all come back out to.
And it will be a new world. It will be very different.
Valuable, isn't it?
Yeah. Can you imagine when the first pubs are open again? Can you imagine that? People are going to be rushing out there, and they're going to be like, "Wow!"
I know, we've already got family plans for barbecues and parties and all that. And in fact, a neighbour one out the front of our house with all the neighbours, which is something we never normally do. I think maybe once or twice, but it's gonna be a heck of a party when we're allowed back out.
Yeah. And one last thing, can I say this? I want to just have a shout out for our fellow rats. Now, we have evolved with dogs, pigs, and rats, and it's because we'll eat anything. Right now, I quite like rats. I think they're nice people. They go on and do what they need to do. They clean up all the mess, you know. And well, they get a really bad press. They say that in Britain you're never further than 10 feet away from a rat at any point. Yeah, 3 meters from a rat. What's happened, and it's happening across the globe. I was reading about a ruminologist, I think is the person, because they ruminate, don't they? And this guy's writing, and he's saying that because everything's closing down, like the restaurants, the pubs, the takeaways, is that the supply of food for the rats has dried up. So they're all coming out of their nests and hidey holes looking for food. So suddenly all the places that used to be full of human beings are now full of rats looking for something to eat. And they're even spilling over into areas that have never had rats before, obviously higher class areas. And that now there's rats wandering down kind of Park Lane looking for something to eat. And I think it's fascinating that we have these rats that live beneath us, who actually clear up our mess and look after us, but we don't see them like that. We see them as a pain and a problem and vermin. You know, and the fact that there are so many rats that are looking for something to eat shows how much rubbish we leave around because it's been feeding them all the time.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
so I want to shout out for a good thing for rats. You know, hey, yeah, Ratatouille.
Good shout. Well, then my result is Ratatouille, then the Pixar movie, which we watched a few weeks ago. That'll give you a much better appreciation of rats. And,
no, I agree with that. We'll have a shared results. I think that Ratatouille film is really good. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, no, I love it. You've got a bit of a studio forming behind your camera, haven't you, Sean? You got some...
I have, yes. Yeah, I'm experimenting. Can I flip the camera on this so I can just show you? Hang on. There we go. There we are. That's my lighting and camera rig setting up. So I'm starting to get a handle on it, and so that I can start recording the courses and stuff. So I've got Robert helping me with cameras and things this week to try and get it right. So we will see. We'll get it right.
All right, keep me posted. But yeah, we'll wrap things up now. We'll be back next week for more. liveinthepresent.co.uk for all show notes and links. Anything else you want to add, Sean, before we go?
All I'd say is that, and I'm extending this out to everybody at the moment, if you need stuff, shout. Now, if you want advice, you want some help, you want some support, anything, just shout out. Because on the basis, if we all look after each other now, we're all going to be okay. Yeah. So.
All right.
Okay.
Sean, you have a good week, eh?
And you take care. Au revoir.
See you guys. Take care.
See ya. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.